Hello, my friends, and welcome to We the Game Changers. I'm your host, Beth Knox, and today we are talking with my guest, Megan Jasper. Hi, Megan. This is so fun.
Beth, I'm so happy to be here.
I know, me too. And, we were just saying how we don't get the chance to have these conversations, and I'm so looking forward to delving into some of your background and just a little bit of your career history and changing the game in the music industry. So
sounds good to me.
You're the CEO of Sub Pop Records, and of course, as I think most people know, it's a quintessentially Seattle record label known for launching Nirvana, Soundgarden, Mudhoney, and a great range of talented artists. Now, I was recently listening to your podcast with John Scholes with the Downtown Seattle Association on his City Makers podcast, and you said, if you like it, referring to music, food, or trend, then there's probably a million other people out there who also like it. You have to trust yourself.
Yeah.
So can you say more about this, and how did you learn to trust yourself?
Well, I think that, when we're talking about, I'll back up for a second. When you're tasked with finding artists that will resonate with a lot of people, if you just think of it simply like that, it's daunting because to represent a million other people's taste in music feels kind of weird when you don't know who all of those people are. But the truth is, if you're someone who loves music or really anything, food, any kind of art, you're just one of so many people who resonate with a particular thing. And when I thought more like that and less like I need to make decisions for other people, then it seemed really easy because really there's no right or wrong with what speaks to you, no matter what it is.
Sure.
And so if I think a song is catchy, or if a song for me allows me to kind of go deeper with an emotion that I'm feeling, or it, takes me somewhere, I'm not alone with any of that. I'm just a human who loves music.
Right.
And probably a lot of other people will have a similar experience. And so there's something really comforting about that.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off.
Yeah, it completely takes the pressure off. And it doesn't feel like you're making decisions for anyone else. It just feels like you're someone participating in an experience that a whole other, like many other people will be so lucky to also have.
Right.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Now, of course, as we also know, the music industry has gone through some major iterations in the last few decades. It's a space that is in constant disruption.
Yeah.
And Sub Pop has a reputation for not following a traditional path, but forging its own way. How do you lead in a space where changes are happening all the time?
Yeah.
That's got to be a challenging space to be in.
It is, and it isn't. It's challenging because nothing's ever the same. And so if you are someone who needs to get used to a really predictable routine, you'll probably be sadly disappointed.
Right.
I'm also not someone who feels like the sky is always falling. So when things are disrupted or change happens, I never think like, oh no, what are we going to do? We're screwed. It's more like, okay, we have to sit, take a beat, study this, learn, talk about it, navigate it slowly, take careful steps forward. And honestly, I don't see work any different from just normal life.
Right.
Life is full of curveballs. We think we know what today will look like, and really we don't. We don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. We don't know what next year is going to look like. We can put together our 3-year plans, our 5-year plans, our 10-year plans. And it's nice to sort of have goals and know where we want to go. But the reality is we never know really where we're going. And we really never know how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
We can have an idea. We can follow that. We can feel determined to get there. And usually we do. But there are going to be curveballs.
Yeah.
So whether it's life or whether it's, the industry that we work in, which is changing really quickly all the time, you kind of just get used to, you have to get used to sitting with some sense of uncertainty and not feeling thrown off by that.
At our upcoming Women in Leadership Breakfast in October, one of the sub-themes is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and leaning into that. It's a really difficult space to embrace, but that is the nature of our world. And
it really is. And weirdly, once you allow for yourself to be comfortable in an uncomfortable space, there's something really liberating about that.
Yeah.
And comfortable is not the right word, but it's okay. It's our reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's a great segue to, I'm curious about the process that you go through at Sub Pop when you're doing the research or you have projects and planning process. What is your role throughout all of that? When you have a team of people, but how do you insert yourself in that whole process?
It really depends on what it is. So there are times when it's smarter for me to lean back and let departments or individuals do their thing, because they should always be able to put their best foot forward. And it's sort of how we learn and grow, and not everyone needs a boss breathing down their neck. Not everybody does their best work that way. And I don't believe that I am smarter than anyone else in the room. So depending on what it is, I either allow space, or if it's something where I think I can put my best foot forward, or I have an experience that I can pull from, then I will lean in more. But really, what I need to make sure I'm doing is making sure that everything is moving forward in a way that feels responsible and smart and right for whatever that situation is.
Sure, that makes sense.
So I'm guiding.
Right. When you are in a space with, as we were just saying, constant change, what do you use to fuel yourself, fuel your energy, to whether you're riding the waves or kind of resisting some of the external energy? How do you fuel yourself to get through your days?
In a lot of different ways. Some as obvious as coffee in the morning,
Yes.
But also like I really try to appreciate the moment that we're in, and I am lucky to be around people that I really, really care about. So I let myself to some degree surrender to the experience and appreciate it. And if it's a difficult, challenging one, I know if I do my job well, I'm going to look back and feel proud of how I handled something.
Right.
And I want all of us to experience that. So that is a drive for me. And if it's something uplifting and joyous, it's like, I just want to be in it.
Yeah.
And appreciate the fact that I'm able to work with artists that I still can't believe I'm able to work with, or with coworkers whom I truly care for and love. Yeah. So, I want to enjoy it and appreciate it and be present for it.
Being present, that is the thing. And it's so, I always found it difficult, because I would get in a groove in that mode of, I've got things to do, places to go, people to see. And I can remember specifically years ago when I worked for One Reel doing Bumbershoot, and, I would have that checklist in my head and I was going. But there would be moments I'd be charging across Memorial Stadium field, doing warm up of a band, and the music would just strike me, and I would literally stop in my tracks. Oh, and I would say, just stop. This is a moment here. Yes. And it's hard to do, especially when you're a type A person. But I've tried to train myself over the years to at least take in those moments so that you're reflecting on it.
We really have to. So you're talking about something that's so interesting to me. We are so conditioned to just go, go, go. And we know, like everyone says, stop and smell the roses. I love stopping and smelling roses. But I feel like during peak COVID, when everything was so still, I had a moment a couple of months in where I actually started to feel like myself again. And I didn't know exactly what it was until I realized that I had space to process things, more space to process things.
White space.
Totally.
It's the greatest gift.
Yeah. And so the conversations I would have with people, there was so much stillness that I could actually sit and reflect and think a little more deeply about what was said or how something was said. And it brought me back to myself as a less busy person. And it made me promise myself that I would never get rat racy again. And life gets busy and life goes on again, but there's something about really like taking some of that stillness and making sure it's integrated into our daily lives.
Right. And do you feel like you've been able to maintain that since COVID?
Mostly. I will say I feel like I lost it a little bit this year. But I also am not someone who's going to beat myself up about it. It's like, that's okay. I'll get through this wave and then I can reset.
Get back on it.
And that's okay. And we'll just keep moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I'm feeling that way right now. You know, we have, there's such a momentum in the sports industry and sports community here in Seattle.
Yeah.
With all of the events that we have coming. And of course, as we all know, 2026 World Cup is on our heels. So there's this real sense of urgency that don't slow down. You don't have time to stop and smell the roses or reflect. And yet when I lose that edge of space, that's when I start to feel less and less productive and I'm not enjoying life in the same way. So it is such a critical effort to make.
Yeah. It's why people say to meditate. You know, it's like it allows for you to just kind of actually take on more without feeling like it's more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. Meditation is a lifesaver for me.
Me too.
So, shifting gears back to the energy level.
Yeah.
So when you have to be that badass CEO for whatever purpose, is there a kind of music or is there a song that you go to get you in that mood?
That's
Do you use that?
good question. I don't. But whatever my mood is, I do try to match it musically. So if I am feeling so much of this year, if I was feeling like, or like, you know, I would probably put on Deep Sea Diver.
Okay.
They are a local band and we released, their most recent record and it is so good. So, and that makes me feel like I feel uplifted. I feel energetic. I feel excited. And then there are times when I need to be more like thoughtful about something and maybe I'll put on Neil Young or Nina Simone or Sam Beam from Iron and Wine or, you know, and kind of like lose myself in some of that.
Yeah.
Nina Simone actually will make me feel like I'm going to power through this. But she also can like totally like pull me down.
Regulate your system.
To like a really grounded, strong space. But I actually love doing that.
That's awesome. So Megan, you are also known for your sense of humor, the kind of that spirit that you bring to your job, and you also, of course, have the infamous story of the epic prank that you pulled with the New York Times, where you were asked to share the kind of that secret language of grunge, and of course there was no secret language, but you made up on the spot a lexicon of grunge, which then was printed in the New York Times. Now, the best part of that story for me was that how Seattle fans then created T-shirts with those words on it, those made-up words, and bands would drop the phrases into interviews and such. It really took on a life of its own, which is that's such a cool cultural experience. So humor seems to be one of the sharper tools in your toolbox. How does that factor into your leadership style? What do you bring to managing your team through humor?
So I honestly don't even think about it. So I grew up in a family where we laughed a lot. We also we did all the stuff. We fight and laugh and everything. But both my parents have my dad had such a good sense of humor. My mom has a great sense of humor too. She loves to laugh. So we used it as a way to cope. So when things were stressful, even when things were sad as a kid, I remember being at funerals for some of my older relatives who had passed away. And my sister and I would hide in corners and laugh because it's how you cope. It's like you laugh or you cry.
It's a relief.
Yeah, it's a relief.
Yeah.
So a release. So I use it without thinking, and I work with really funny people, so they use it without thinking as well. But it's really helpful because when things feel stressful or when things feel tense, someone will say something. And it's like it diffuses everything and brings everything right back down. And you can actually feel your body even regulate in that moment. And it's kind of funny, but we use it constantly and we use it without thinking about it. There's a lot of laughter. And there are tons of pranks in the office all the time.
That's awesome.
And we laugh a lot together.
So do you have a favorite moment of a prank in your work?
It's funny. There are two that immediately pop to mind, and not one of them wasn't mine at all. It was our then receptionist, Derek Erdman, who's one of the funniest people in the world. He's a visual artist who now lives in Chicago, but Derek is so funny. And one day there was this massive cardboard box. I don't know what was in it, but it was huge. And so he flipped it upside down in the lobby and then got underneath it. And when someone would walk by, he would jump up in the box and it would just startle every single person. And it was the stupidest thing, but it was so hilarious. I couldn't handle it. And people are getting so mad at him and I could not stop laughing. But I would say a pretty epic one. And it was a prank and a celebration. So Jonathan Poneman, one of Sub Pop's founders, he doesn't always come in on his birthday. He often would take the day off, but I think it was his 50th birthday. He came into the office. Everyone got in really early that day, blew up 1 million balloons, and we filled his entire office with balloons that probably went 4 feet high.
Oh my
so
word.
You couldn't see his desk.
Right.
You couldn't see his chair. You couldn't see anything. And he walked in and didn't even know how to get into his office. But my favorite part of it was there were so many balloons that he just let himself fall back into them. And then you just heard kunk. Because, it's not like they're super cushiony, even though they look like it. And then you hear a bunch of balloons popping. And then he stood back up and he really looked like a kid just full of joy. And it was awesome. We were cracking up. But as though that weren't enough, we did a celebration for him and had cake and he ended up splitting. But then we secretly took all of the balloons and we filled them in the van of one of my coworkers, Steve, our then publicist.
Okay.
And Steve got it with a little tack pinned to the steering wheel. So and we watched from the kitchen window. We watched Steve walk to his van, stop, see that it was completely full of balloons. And he was like, ugh. Opens the door, a couple of balloons start falling out. And he had to like poke all of the balloons
one at a time
just so that he could drive home.
That is classic.
Epic. It was so good.
That is, especially when you can kind of watch from afar.
Oh, yeah. And we were like, it's the gift that keeps on giving. These balloons are the best thing in the world.
Repurposing the balloons. Well, I have to say, when you bring up Jonathan, of course, that's how we first met.
Yeah.
This was when I was CEO of Seafair.
Yeah.
And every summer, Seafair chooses a man and a woman from the community to represent the kind of the spirit of the community and serve as Queen Alcyone and King Neptune.
Yes.
And Jonathan was our King Neptune. I think Jennifer Roth was the queen that year.
Yeah.
That was just such a fun integration of music and art, film into the Seafair world. That was just such a great summer with him.
We were all so excited.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
And I remember we did the announcement at the top, or the Space Needle, and that was just that was a good time. That was fun. That's where we met.
It was the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go back early days for you.
Yeah.
You come from a long line of teachers with a couple of nuns and a couple of lawyers sprinkled in. And as a child, you thought your career prospects were a stay-at-home mom, a teacher, or a nun.
Yeah.
So now you had the music bug at the same time. Is it fair to say that breaking out of that limited mold was one of your early moments of disruption? Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, it was like, I always think of it as this like major epiphany because music was pulling at me, but I always thought it was something that I would have to appreciate on the side. Like I didn't even think of it as an option.
Right.
And there was a day, it was after I was laid off from Sub Pop in 1991. And I thought, I love the city. I'm not ready to go back to the East Coast. I knew my next step was graduate school. And I was feeling allergic to that thought. And I was walking home and it's like, I don't know how it happened or what, but I just had this epiphany as I was walking home. And I thought, I don't have to do this. I don't have to be a teacher. Who says I have to be a teacher? And I thought, I'm going to get another job. I'm going to work in music. Right. And I was so excited that I like ran home to call my parents and tell them like, I'm doing this. I'm going to do this.
So how did that go? Because of course, generation before us, you followed the traditional path. Did you have pushback I thought I would, and I didn't. My mom said, so my mom is someone who really kind of came into her own, like probably in her late 30s, 40s. And I said, hey, I need to talk to you about this. I want to stay out here and I want to find a job in music and I don't want to go to graduate school, at least not right now. And she said, I remember she has a real thick East Coast accent. Okay. She said, good for you. I was always hoping one of the kids would do something very creative. And I was like, really? And she said, education is wonderful, but it doesn't pay shit. And I was like, I don't know that music is going to either. It's going to be the alternative. Yeah, but it's what I really want to do and what I love doing. And she was super supportive. My dad was too. That's great. Yeah, the expectation I realized wasn't from them. It was from me. It's what I thought I was supposed to do. Right. Because everyone in my family is, was almost everyone an educator. Right. That's so interesting. And I think back, I grew up in Michigan and it was similar in that there were some traditional pathways that were in front of you. And so when I went to college, I got a degree in advertising public relations because that felt a little creative, but still very safe. Yeah. And when I came out to Seattle, in fact, my first job was at Seafair, and I thought, okay, well, PR, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. That's the path. And then I was watching, my coworker who was doing PR, I was like, that is not what I want to do. And it was such a moment of kind of disrupting my chain of thinking, that this traditional pathway. And so then it was like, so what now? But of course, I was in the middle of a festival in an events world, and events were not a thing. That you didn't go to school to produce events, of course, back then. And so, for the longest time, my family was like, now, what is it that you do?
Yeah.
I still get a little bit of that. But but being able to deviate from what we thought were the easy, or not easy, but certainly traditional and safe paths.
Yeah.
That was a moment for me that really shifted how I started thinking.
Yeah, and it's profound, because when you carve out your own path and you're doing something that you truly care about, even when people don't totally get it, it is fulfilling in a way that's so different. And we've had jobs, we've all had jobs that we don't totally love or don't like make us feel like ourselves. And we have friends with those jobs, and their lives are different, and their experiences at work, it's way different. Right. This is fulfilling.
One of your very first jobs was that got you interested in music was a late night radio show.
Yeah.
So was that, just kind of reflecting on what we're just talking about, what was that experience, and how did that inform your journey as well?
It really informed it, because it was the first place where it felt like there was a place for me to participate. So I would go to shows. I would go to all age punk rock shows. Right. And I loved it, and I loved being there, and I felt like I was with my people, and there was no place else I would rather have been. And I didn't know how to participate in that, because I'm not a musician. I wasn't promoting a show. I was there in a very passive role, which I loved, but I didn't want to be passive. I wanted to have a place, and I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to participate in some way and give back to it and have a deeper experience with it. And so getting that slot and being able to DJ, it gave me a space where I could do something, and I could be a part of something, and I could turn people on to music that I loved, and I could do it with my sister and my friend. And it was really rewarding. And it also gave me a place to go that was safe, that was positive. A ton of people I knew at the time were wonderful people, but doing a lot of drugs or drinking a lot. And I didn't care about any of that. I didn't want to do drugs. I didn't care about drinking. I cared about music. And so it gave me a space where I could really do that. So it was great.
Yeah. That's it. Look, I love the hindsight when you can see how that has shaped you, or that place that it gave you as a kind of a launch pad, if you will. Yeah. So looking back over your professional career, you've had a lot of different roles. Which one would you say has been the most educational or transformative for you in your career journey?
Oh, that's a great question, because they all have been in different ways. But I have to say, I always go back to being a receptionist at Sub Pop. There's something about being, so back in the late 1980s, there was one computer in the office. So I didn't really have a computer. There weren't emails. There was no web or anything. Like there was no internet.
No cell phones, no texting.
We didn't even have a fax machine until, and that was a big deal when we got one. Right. So there were phones. There was mail, and there were phones.
Hardwired landline phones.
And so when your job is being at the center of all of the communication coming in and some of it going out, but all of it coming in, you learn a lot really, really quickly. You learn how an office works. Right. You learn what everyone is doing. You learn how they're doing things, and when you can lean in and interrupt them, when you can't, why you should, why you shouldn't. you learn a lot about the people who are calling in because maybe they just need to connect with someone, or they're waiting for someone to get off the phone so that they can just be transferred over.
Right.
But you're learning so much about how the business is happening, and you're learning a lot about how people work and how individuals work. And I loved that job.
Yeah.
It was great, but it taught me a lot really quickly.
You know, I had a similar experience. My job wasn't receptionist. This was when I was in my 20s at Seafair the first time. But in the summer because it was the same situation, we only had landline phones. And so everybody was stepping in and helping at the front desk. And it was the same experience, learning and getting a sense of all the different personalities and how they respond to having to wait on hold for however long, versus the ones who are so grateful for the information or the help, the guidance. You do learn a lot about just
everything.
Humanity.
Yeah, you learn about people, and then you learn everything about the business because people are calling about specific things. And so you end up learning what's really important and needs to be expedited. You learn what can wait for a minute and how to prioritize everything. It was really fun.
And it's valuable, as you said, to your career. I often think about, young, especially emerging leaders that are coming out of college or in college, and they have that sense of pressure of, I have to get the title, the job right away. And it's actually, I don't think that is as valuable, because then you get put into a role with responsibilities that you're not really prepared for.
I totally agree with you.
Especially when I was younger, I would look for, when I was interviewing people, I would look for people who had either those kind of roles, or they were a wait staff at a restaurant or a hotel, because dealing with that customer service, it does change how you operate in life.
I so agree with you. I think that those skills, just learning how to deal with any kind of person, it's really one of the best skills anyone can have. And I think there are a million jobs that you can actually learn to do if you have those skills. If you can deal with people, if you like people, and you learn how to deal with each person in their own way, you can get through anything.
Absolutely.
And have fun with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I think you start taking life less seriously when you have to deal with so many different personalities, and you realize, hey, they're all out there, and we can manage all of them.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. So, Megan, you've been at the center of Seattle culture through music, and I want to bring sports into the mix for a moment. A lot of your artists have performed at Sounders matches or other game day experiences, or have been integrated into the sports culture in some way. What's been a memorable sports meets music moment for you in Seattle?
Well, I'll give you my most recent one, which is we just had a band we work with, Clipping, throw out the first pitch for the Mariners.
Fantastic.
And it was so much fun for a million reasons. In one way, it's a bunch of us goofballs all sitting together on a work day at, the baseball field. And it was so fun. It was sunny. It was beautiful. But also to see the band, they were so psyched. They were so proud. And one of them grew up playing baseball. So he threw the pitch and did a killer job. But to see how meaningful it was to him, it was really cool. And we ended up talking a lot about just how we grew up and him playing ball. And we talked also a lot about how both sports and music are two things that really bring people together and allow for this shared experience to happen that always feels so important for us to have.
Last summer, the Sports Commission hosted the U.S. Surgeon General, and we had a panel event around the topic of the epidemic of isolation and loneliness. And we integrated, of course, a number of sports figures, but also people like Ben Gibbard, and Kenji Lopez-Alt from the culinary industry. And we had that exact same conversation around how music, food, sports brings people together, creates a community.
Yeah.
You can be sitting next to someone at a Seahawks game and not know them, but then suddenly you're high-fiving them or hugging them, in the moment. So it is such a powerful thing how all of those can bring people together.
Yeah, it's cool.
Do you have any, did you play sports, or do you have any sports influences that impacted your life?
Yeah, so I will say I am not a naturally coordinated person, and I come from a family that really is. So my grandfather was a college basketball coach and a basketball player, and his funeral was really funny and interesting. I mean, and sad because we all loved him so much.
Right.
But it was full of old basketball players, so lanky old men. It was a trip. But he hung out with them all the time, and he even he's in the College Basketball Hall of Fame, the Basketball Hall of Fame. So we have a lot of family pride around my grandfather in basketball, and his only regret in life was that when Bob Cousy asked him to do color with him for the Celtics games, he said no because he thought that he was supposed to really be in retirement. And he should have just done it because he was so great at it. Yeah. And Bob Cousy was one of the kids that he coached.
Wow.
But so basketball runs deep in the family. My grandmother also was a gifted athlete. She really didn't talk about it much, but if women's sports was a thing, she would have
excelled.
Yeah, she really would have.
Right.
And my mother was a competitive swimmer. And a really gifted, strong swimmer.
Wow.
So, and my dad was a cyclist, and he gave me really taught me the joy of cycling. So, I always starting in high school, I would run. I loved running.
Okay.
And for the past 20 years, I've been doing triathlons. Oh. I love triathlons.
Good for you.
And
That's
I cycle
impressive.
a ton, and I love moving my body. I love sports. I'm better at individual sports because of my lack of coordination. I have to do something numerous times before I kind of get it. I'm not a natural.
Right.
But it makes me feel good to move. And so I love sports, and I love cheering teams on.
I love it. So you've been with Sub Pop for now a few decades. You started as an intern, then you went to receptionist. You were gone for a few years and continued gaining experience in the music industry before coming back to Sub Pop, first as a head of marketing and sales, and have been CEO now for 9 years, right, give or take?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the internal growth and movement within one organization. I'm curious if you pitched yourself for any of those roles along the way, or did you allow them to happen organically? What was that process for you navigating kind of up the ladder, if you will?
Yeah, it's funny. I never thought of it as up the ladder, and it all happened really naturally and organically. And it was typically that there was a vacuum somewhere and something needed to be filled. And without thinking about it, I would just kind of pull that thing in and make sure things were set or settled or sorted. And it was important that everyone sort of had a place where they could go and have direction, or, a boss that they could talk to and bounce things off of. So a lot of it just sort of happened. There were a couple of moments where I think in Jonathan just wanting to pull back in some ways so that he could focus on other aspects of the business, he would ask me specifically to lean in some areas, and I just did.
Right.
Yeah, but it was never a goal to have a specific title. and I've never typically cared a whole lot about titles. I think they only serve a purpose of allowing, it's like a shortcut language so that people know what to expect from you, or what your role is or responsibility is, but I think my job is every bit as important as anyone else's job at work. Right. I don't think it's more so. It's all of us together pulling our weight that makes something successful.
Yeah. Well, I do think that it can, the meaning of a title or the idea of a promotion can feel like a means to an end, and you lose sight of what is the job?
Yeah.
And am I doing well at this job, and is it meaningful?
Exactly. What's the purpose?
Right.
And is it serving your purpose as well as a human? Like, are you feeling fulfilled and happy? Is it making you crazy and unhappy? Or is it feeding you in a way that feels positive?
Right. Well, and especially, and I've seen this happen before with some of my employees, where they get really hyper-focused on the next job or the next title, and then they do lose sight of, am I connected to what I'm doing?
Exactly.
It can be so distracting to think about, I should be promoted, and why aren't I promoted, or whatever the case is. So, I think focusing on the job itself and the impact that it's giving you is that's it. You're going to be much more successful in the work.
Totally, and finding satisfaction with whatever the chore is, doing it really well, and learning that makes you feel proud of yourself.
Right.
So whether it's cleaning the table before an artist comes in and sits down at it, or whether it's making a decision, like you put the same care into all of those things and it makes you feel proud. Right. It doesn't matter what the chore is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's get in, since we're on the topic of titles, let's get into more detail on your role as CEO, one of which is the people managing element of that job. A lot of the folks at Sub Pop have been there for upwards of 20, 30 years, including yourself. And there's not a lot of turnover. So I'm curious, how much of that was by design and how much of it happened organically again? And then on the design side, if that was part of it, how are you cultivating that for the future, the next generation?
Yeah, I will say that it was not initially by design. It was that I think we have a strong culture, and people are very mission driven that work there, and they feel a purpose for being there, and it's fun, and it's a really good group of people. And when you're able to serve the artists in a way that's really meaningful to them, it is super rewarding, especially if you love music. It's like you feel like you're helping the people who have helped you, so you're giving back. And so mission driven. And so what we learned is that a lot of us were kind of growing up together and seeing each other through all of these really important moments in life, like your coworkers, like people get married or they have kids or someone passes away, and you're experiencing all of these things together, and it becomes really familial, super bonding. When you come into our office now, you can feel when there are really good things happening for someone. You can also feel when someone's having a hard time or they're, navigating loss in some way. So, so we're all very connected in that way. And I think it helps people want to stay. And it has been amazing that people have stayed for as long as they do, because when you have someone like Chris Jacobs or Tony Keywell or Carly Starr or Jeff Kleinsmith or, Jamie Chappelle, like a million, Stuart Meyer, like a million of my coworkers who have been there for a long time, they have gifts. They have gifts that they bring every day to work that would be really hard to replace. And on top of those gifts, they have an institutional knowledge.
Sure.
And they understand the culture and how to keep it really, really strong. So the value they have is tremendous. And we do nurture it. And there are times when someone's been there for a long time and maybe they feel like they're hitting a wall, and maybe they do find something someplace else where they can actually grow and there's a different path for them. And that's okay too, because people need to do what they need to do.
Right.
And we should never be a place that holds anyone back. We should always be a place that is serving artists, and we're doing what we need to do in order to fulfill that goal. It just so happens that a lot of us love Sub Pop, love Jonathan, love the artists, and we want to do right by everybody.
So then, is there an intentional process to bring in the next generation and educate them? I mean, that's the hardest thing when you have employees that have that institutional knowledge for decades. You don't want to lose that, but how do you hand that off to the next generation and make sure that it continues?
Yeah, so we work together with younger or newer employees, and we know that a lot of what's learned sometimes just happens through osmosis.
Right.
And we let that time happen, and we let the process happen. We explain when we make decisions that feel idiosyncratic in some way or weird or not obvious. We will articulate what we're thinking, even if it's not, even if it sounds odd.
Right.
It's like this, at some point it will click.
Yeah.
And it always does.
Yeah. Okay. Now, again, let's go back to early days.
Yeah.
You were a punk rock kid, my understanding.
Yeah.
And which your parents put you into the Wayward Child program back in your home state.
Yes.
To have that extra eye on you. Did that influence how you look at, say, offbeat or different employees, the unique employees that are coming into your office? When you're overseeing that human side of the business, does that inform how you work with those employees?
Yeah, it's funny because I was having a similar conversation last night with a friend who totally identifies just as a freak. I would never, she is a freak, but I say that in such a positive,
in
awesome
the most loving way, right?
She is someone who is so expressive and self-expressive and creative and brilliant in a way that you don't meet every single day. Mm. She's amazing. Her name's Shannon Perry, and she's one of the greatest tattoo artists, I think, hands down anywhere. And she happens to live in Seattle.
Okay.
She's just such a brilliant woman. But we were talking about this because I always felt like a freak growing up. I always felt like a weirdo. I never totally felt like I fit in. I always used the word misfit, still use the word misfit. And I have an immediate soft place in my heart. I have just for any misfit, anyone who seems like they're different or they don't belong. I think those people have gifts, and it took me a long time to learn that about myself, but I could identify that immediately in other people. But yeah, I think when you feel like an outsider, when you see someone else who's an outsider, and especially someone who has so much to offer, it makes you want to connect with them immediately. It makes me want to connect with them. And sometimes those people are not always the easiest to connect with. Sometimes they have a wall because they have been placed outside. I love breaking down that wall. I love it brings me joy to connect with those people. It makes me feel like I'm doing something right when I can connect with those folks. And some of the people who have a reputation for being the hardest to deal with or the most difficult or a total bummer, I don't have those same experiences with them. I end up often developing friendships that I cherish and love so much. And it's not hard, and there's no disrespect. There's total love and respect.
So do you find yourself with whether interns or employees, do you seek them out and help them channel those gifts because you have been in that position before?
I would say I probably do it without even thinking about it, but I try to connect with them, but mostly I try to connect with them because I'm drawn to them, and I just want to meet at exactly where they're at, and I don't even know that I have anything to teach them or show them other than there's a place for both of us together.
Right.
And what an incredible gift and blessing for me to be welcomed into their space.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's rewarding.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. The music industry, as you well know, took a beating like so many industries during COVID. And I love that in another interview, you've said that you adjusted your mentality from the oh shit mode to, okay, we've been through this before.
Yep.
We're going to get through this because we've gotten through weirder shit before.
Yep.
So was that mantra developed during the pandemic, and how have you integrated that into your leadership and management of the company?
So this kind of goes back to sports a little bit. So one of the things that I love about triathlons is you can't do an event with 3 sports and not have a curveball. You are going to swim and your goggles won't fit right and you're not going to be able to sight. Or you're going to be on your bike and maybe your brake pad is being weird, or you have a flat tire.
Right.
You're going to run and maybe it's hot in a way that's like beating you down. Or someone fell and needs help, and
sure,
you can run past them, or you can be a decent human and help them, because I'm not going to win any trophies. I'm doing it to have fun. So I love the curveballs. I don't mind them. I look forward to curveballs in every aspect of life. I couldn't wait. One of my most exciting things about the day I got married was I couldn't wait to see what curveball was going to happen. I am a fan of the curveballs. So the pandemic is not a curveball I ever would have thought of, but it was one of the biggest curveballs for us. And I think because I am someone who's just had to navigate different stuff and I have comfort in that, it was easy to shift into that space. It's also the only option. So it's like, right. So it's
the
not
alternative is not a good one.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to figure it out. You have to figure out how to move forward. Otherwise, you're stagnant and it puts everybody at risk. So I guess it plays into like leadership, in that you're choosing the only option available, but it's a positive option because nothing's stagnant anyways. So you have to move forward.
Right.
And that's the biggest rule in like doing any, like a sports event or a triathlon. It's like, no matter the pace, keep moving forward.
Right.
You have to.
Well, I'm a firm believer in, we have a fixed amount of energy. And if we're expending energy stressing about the curveball, as opposed to how do we move past how do we hit the curveball?
Yeah. So I love that. I always refer to that as working with the current.
Yeah.
You can swim against it and expend a ton of energy and show up exhausted with a horrible time.
Yeah.
Or you can work with the current, and then you have the support of all of these other elements that are really powerful.
Yeah.
And you have to find the current.
Yeah. So another one, I'll call it your North Star, is you've been said to, have a no assholes kind of rule. talk to me about that. What does that mean, and how do you kind of put that into your daily world?
I'm also learning that I can swear, and I've been trying really hard not to, but I will try to spare like bad swears. So we do. We have
a safe space. It's fine.
Thank you. We have a no asshole policy. So for us, what that means is if we are trying to work with an artist or we're engaging with some partner in any way, if they say something racist, homophobic, just shitty to any individual, it's like they are going to be such a bummer to deal with and work with, and it won't make us feel proud, and it will beat us up. And we all as humans put so much into what our jobs are, no matter what our jobs are, and it's what we do with our time so that, whatever. To deal with assholes brings the quality of those hours down so extremely that it doesn't make anyone happy or feel good. So we just say, if someone's a friggin' asshole, it's like, no, let someone else work with the asshole.
Right.
Because there are a million other people who are not douchebags and are going to be so much more fun to work with. And they're going to lift everything.
Exactly.
And so that's our policy.
I love that. Yeah. One of my dearest mentors, this was, again, when I was in my 20s, he had similar advice. He told me he said, Beth, you need to just avoid the assholes.
Yeah.
And what he meant by that goes back to that, where do you put your energy?
Yeah.
And, if I am feeding the asshole person that is making life difficult, then I'm wasting that precious energy that I have versus either avoiding him or just not letting it eat at me and moving through it. So going with the current, as you said.
Yeah.
So I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, the assholes don't change easily. And my mom always has a saying that she still uses, which is, the spots on the leopard never change. The only thing that changes are the flies around its ass. And so the takeaway is, awesome. Don't be the fly.
Don't be the fly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So Megan, we always wrap up our podcast with what we call our game changer quick hits. So these are the things that I want to make sure I learn from you before we sign off here. Who has changed the game for you the most, either personally or professionally, and why?
Jonathan Poneman. Jonathan, because he never gave up, even at times when it would have been so much easier for him to.
Right.
Him showing me and us how to persevere has been a really important and incredible lesson that I take to heart.
So that's the perfect segue to the second game changer hit is, at the core of being a game changer is disruption. And we are often swimming upstream or getting the pushback. What do you tell a young leader or someone who is finding themselves in that uphill battle? What encouragement would you give them in that world of disruption?
I always say there is always a solution. You just have to want to find it. And if you're running into walls, you just need to try a different direction or try a different technique or method or way. You don't stop if it's the thing that's calling to you. Just look for a different way to do it.
Yeah.
And
that persistence that you just said about Jonathan.
Keep trying.
Right.
Don't give up. If you're getting rejection letters you're trying to get a book published, you're trying to get your band signed, it doesn't matter. You just have to find that one person that it resonates with and maybe do it because it is fulfilling you as a human.
Right.
And not because you just want to check this thing off your list.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. Megan, this has been so enjoyable.
Oh,
I have loved every minute of this.
I have too, and I feel like I could chat with you forever.
I know.
I'm super grateful for sharing the time with you.
Likewise. I wish we had more time. We'll have to do another one in the future so we can
I would love that.
catch up some more. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for everything you do. You do a ton of things, and you provide these experiences for a whole bunch of folks, and I have been one of them many times.
I
so
appreciate
I'm grateful.
that. Absolutely.
You do it well.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us for this episode of We the Game Changers, a production of the Seattle Sports Commission with support from Metamora Productions. Please subscribe to We the Game Changers on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. From the Seattle Sports Commission, I'm your host, Beth Knox, and here's to the power of sports.